Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? There we go, that's better. Well, we are blessed in the UK with a dedicated department for science, innovation and technology. And last week I had the pleasure to be at Daresbury SciTech, one of the key sites of the Science and Technology Facilities Council and home of the Hartree Centre, all sponsored by and run by DCIT. And it's incredible to see around 180 businesses with a community of around 3,000 scientists and engineers working on leading-edge applications of technology like AI, HPC, and quantum. So, as leader of this department, it gives me great pleasure to welcome today Michelle Donelan, Secretary of State for Science, Innovation, and Technology.
Thank you, Nicola, and good morning, everybody. And thank you, of course, to techUK for bringing us here together today and choosing the theme of growth and public services for our discussion. Now, it's no secret that what really motivates and excites me about science, technology, and innovation is the truly transformative effect on public services and our economy that new advancements can bring. My officials will testify that I constantly bang on about public services, and I've made it somewhat of my mission to hammer home the real-world impact that technology has and can have on people. Everything that we do in DCIT is shaped around a common goal of improving people's lives, from new life-saving AI cancer treatments to reinvigorating left-behind communities by fueling their growth with new STEM skills. Far from being a kind of side objective of science and technology, I actually believe that transforming public services and driving growth is quite literally the whole point of our science and technology superpower mission. And that is why I've listened to industry and formed 3 pillars of what will take us there: skills, scale-up, and regulation. The right skills to meet the future needs of emerging tech and science businesses. The right ecosystem for startups to scale up through homegrown capital investment. And common sense regulation that supports and facilitates innovation. These 3 pillars are absolutely critical to turning the incredible Whitehall startup story that is my department, DCIT, into a success story for our public services and our economy. So I'm pleased to see this on the agenda. And today, in fact, we've launched our Science and Technology Superpower campaign, showcasing the very best of British business to investors here in the UK. But for this session, I want to touch on 3 key areas as illustrative examples of how we're really driving growth and improving public services just as we speak. And what better way to start than to start with broadband and connectivity, which form the very basic foundation of all digital growth, and particularly when it comes to advanced wireless connectivity like 5G. It truly has the potential for a new locally delivered high-tech health service as well. Every single house and business we connect to gigabit broadband, and every new mobile connection represents a step closer to a true digital economy where opportunity is spread equally. And that is why we've embarked on one of the largest infrastructure projects since the Victorian era. In fact, we've laid enough fibre optic cable to go around the Earth 5 times over. And by the time that we have connected the remaining homes, we'll have laid enough cable to go nearly halfway to the moon. And that's been achieved in the space of just a single parliament. For communities across the country, that means we've gone from just 6% coverage in 2019 to over 81% coverage today, thanks to a unique public-private partnership that this government decided to pioneer, And I must say, of course, this was opposed by our opposition at the time. Because of our plan, though, we're now rolling out gigabit broadband faster than anywhere else in the EU. With the government working hand in hand with business, right now we connect a premises to gigabit broadband every 13 seconds. And independent research estimates that a gigabit connection adds an extra £270 per person per year to the UK economy. Now, let's think about that for a moment. Every 13 seconds, this government, working with industry, is improving another person's economic output by £217, and probably more in the same household. Since I started speaking, in fact, today, that's about 50 new premises and several times that number in terms of people with access to connections which are adding hundreds of pounds more to our economy each year. That means more money into our economy and more money into our public services. But it goes well beyond the economics. To me, that's 50 young families with access to education and employment opportunities that they didn't have before. It's 50 businesses with access to new markets for their products and services. It's 50 elderly people able to keep in touch with their loved ones and using better healthcare technology in their homes. And that is what I mean when I say that everything we do must be geared towards real, tangible outcomes for real people. I saw that when I visited Northumberland just the other week, celebrating the millionth home connected by government-funded rollout of gigabit broadband. I saw how it's changing people's lives, young and old, especially outside our cities, in our rural communities. And we have a bold ambition, as set out in our wireless infrastructure strategy, for all populated areas to have access to higher quality standalone 5G connectivity by the end of the decade. But this advanced wireless technology is so much more than just connecting smartphones. It offers a very high grade of connectivity that can unleash growth and productivity in sectors across the economy, from manufacturing to agri-tech to the creative industries. Our £40 million 5G Innovations Region programme is about realising the vast potential that exists in sectors across the economy in every corner of the United Kingdom. And we won't stop at 5G. Our work is well underway to prepare for the next generation of wireless technologies that will emerge in the next decade, and that is, of course, 6G. Now, the next thing that I wanted to discuss today really doesn't get enough attention, in my opinion, yet it is one of the great untapped resources that we have right at our fingertips. When it comes to delivering public services, every developed country faces the same fundamental challenges. We have to deliver more services for more people using fewer resources. And what is that thing that I'm alluding to? It is, of course, data. So the best public services in the 21st century will be defined by their ability to be delivered in an efficient and effective way. And in my view, data will be absolutely critical to this. I said in my recent scale-up speech the other month that the public sector and other organisations are sitting on mountains of incredibly useful data that could be used more to improve public services, whilst of course protecting privacy. And I'm making it my mission to help unlock that hidden potential and ensure that the UK catches up with other countries who are already reaping the rewards of better data utilisation. Now, in last week's budget, the Chancellor confirmed 2 new pilots to improve access whilst protecting data protection and security. These pilots will help generate new AI services to support teaching and promote better data access and services in the adult social care sector. The data bill that I'm currently steering through Parliament with my wonderful team of ministers is just one step in the making of this a reality. On its own, it will add 10 billion to our economy, and most crucially, we designed it so that the greatest benefits would be felt by small businesses across our country, cashing in on a real Brexit opportunity that only we were prepared to take. And now those rewards are going to be felt by the next generation of founders and business owners in local communities. But as I said earlier this year, data-driven public services are not just a nice to have, they're an absolute necessity if we're going to be able to deliver more for the public at better value for money. The NHS has already used innovative data analysis to target the HPV vaccine at younger patients, where its benefits will be felt most strongly. When used in this way, the vaccine has reduced incidence of cervical cancer by up to 87%, which I personally think is absolutely remarkable. And all parts of the public sector can play a part here in finding ways to use anonymised local and national data to target public services more effectively. And I take an unapologetically pro-business, pro-common sense approach when it comes to people's lives and making sure that technology delivers for them. Now, that approach is indispensable for the final example I want to talk about today, and that is artificial intelligence, the technology that perhaps more than any other will define the decade to come. AI is where we see technology's potential for the public sector to go into overdrive. Whether in our health services or our transport system, there is quite literally no limit to what AI could achieve. It really is one of those areas that does keep me up at night, but in a good way. And today, because of the bold and the unique approach that the United Kingdom has taken on AI since the creation of my department, our AI sector is widely regarded as the third largest in the world, behind only the US and China. And as the technology evolves even faster and the world's leading companies choose to locate themselves in London, we can expect it to go from strength to strength. We are leading the way with AI safety so that we can grip those real benefits and opportunities. Having convened the world last year at Bletchley Park and secured landmark agreements, including access to pre- and post-deployment testing of models. And we're now home to the world's very first AI institute, which is already functioning and has begun testing models. Our AI market is predicted to grow to over $1 trillion by 2035. Now, to put that into context, that's the same size as our entire tech sector put together today. The economic possibilities for the UK are genuinely staggering. But all this is quite meaningless unless behind those stats, they translate into tangible benefits for our public services, for small businesses, and for our communities. In the same way as the internet boom has enriched the lives of every single person across the country, so too can AI. Imagine, for a minute, a transport network where the network is smart enough to work around passengers rather than passengers working around the network. Or imagine a fully scaled smart electricity grid that smashes the UK's net zero targets on time because we only generate what we actually use. And the one that really means something to many of you here today, I believe, is the power of what it could do for our NHS. So imagine an NHS where AI is detecting cancer earlier than we ever thought possible, or where new drugs are available to cure illnesses that we have tried and failed to do for centuries. Through the AI in Health and Care Award, we have invested £120 million to test and evaluate artificial intelligence technologies in crucial areas that cause the most harm to health and the economy. For instance, technology is being used in stroke care is significantly increasing the speed at which patients are diagnosed and treated, which in turn is improving the rates of independent living following a stroke. In fact, we have deployed AI technology into 95% of stroke units in England already. That's today. That's not what could happen. That is what is happening. And like data, it can help medical professionals across the country in more everyday ways too, saving them time, saving them money, and helping them to focus their efforts where it really makes a difference. AI-enabled NHS could give doctors an AI co-pilot working with them 24/7, allowing them to spend more time with their patients and improving overall patient care. Curing cruel diseases like cancer and dementia are genuinely now on the cards with advancements in AI around the corner, which is great news, but should not just mean that we sit here and wait and expect it to happen. Because what actually really excites me today in the here and now is how AI is making us far better at predicting and preventing diseases as well. And ultimately, that is what the NHS could in the future focus on because of AI. But however all exciting this is, I want to make a very important point today, and that is that none of these opportunities that I've spoken about today are inevitable. Of course, it requires a government that sees the potential of AI, is prepared to take the necessary steps to make sure that the UK is leading the way in the safe development and deployment of AI, and is supporting our businesses and our public services to adopt AI. If we go down the route of stifling innovation and closing the door to AI technologies, we have no hope of achieving the kind of public sector adoption that is needed to make these goals a reality. And the budget last week was the latest affirmation of our commitment here, from a new £7.4 million upskilling fund pilot that will help SMEs develop AI skills for the future, to the announcements that we invest in AI document processing and a new pilot for using AI in speeding up planning processes. Our wider, agile, fast-paced, but also safety-first approach has been welcomed across the board, and I know that techUK have been very supportive of our process and the white paper that we recently responded to. Now, if you let me, I could, of course, go into detail on how our work on quantum is literally pushing the boundaries of a transformational field, or how the UK compound semiconductor design power is growing through extraordinary research here on our shores, or how the UK's world-leading cyber-security expertise is now sought after across the globe. But I am conscious of the fact that I'm probably already running over time, so I'll leave you with one final thought. Although we in Westminster can often get wrapped up in the theory and the policy, we have to remember how real the benefits of these technologies are to the British public. If you came in for radiotherapy treatment a year or 2 years ago, it might have taken a doctor 3 whole hours just to prepare you safely for the procedure. That is 3 hours per patient and a long queue of patients in desperate need. Today, right now, that same procedure is being done in the amount of time that I have stood up here today speaking, and that's thanks to an amazing AI tool. These are incredible leaps that are not just changing lives, but they're saving them too. And I want us to continue building a public services system that can deliver for the British people today and well into the future. Thank you.
That's fine. Okay. Secretary of State, thank you so much, and thank you for being here with us today. It's very, very good to have you. Can I maybe start by, you're a year into your role at DCIT, and it's a heavy lift starting a new department. So maybe you can tell us a bit what it's been like being the UK's first ever Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology.
Yes, yeah, it's been an exhilarating first year where we've delivered a heck of a lot. And you're quite right, we started with nothing. When I was first appointed on that day, we didn't have an actual office, we didn't have a full team, we were almost like the epitome of the ultimate startup. And what I think we've built is something that the rest of Whitehall can look towards and try and emulate. And one of the things I was really keen to do from the off was bring in external expertise. So we're making sure that we're bringing people from industry into the heart of our department so that we can stay current, we can make the right policy decisions that are informed, and also getting civil servants out into industry is the next step that we've been working on as well. And if you look at what we've done in AI, for instance, we've brought talent from across the globe not just here from the UK. We now have produced a strategy or a plan for every single one of our 5 critical technologies. We've not just produced policy documents in a year, we've actually been delivering. If you look at what we've done with the AI Safety Summit or the new deal that we got in terms of our negotiations with Horizon, these are things that were being played back to me as important and things that we showed real leadership on and actually delivered. And what I hope you will see from the year to come is a department that continues to deliver and deliver at an incredible speed.
Yeah, fantastic. It's great to see some of those things happening in practice. It's also really good to see more diversity in politics. When it comes to science, innovation and technologies, maybe not quite so diverse. What's it like to be a female leader in this field?
So I strongly believe that we need to be empowering and enabling people from all backgrounds to go into whatever field they want, and particularly in tech and science, given how important this is going to be for our future economy. We need the next generation to see this as an open door, no matter where they're from in the UK. So I'm focused on breaking down some of the barriers and the perceived barriers and levelling the playing field. And we've been doing that already, working very closely with the Department for Education. Skills is a key strand in our science and technology framework. Without making sure that we have the skills pipeline, we will not become a science and technology superpower. It's as simple as that. That's why we've been doubling down on our careers education. And it is already beginning to work. If you look at the statistics of females, for instance, taking STEM subjects at A-level, it is approaching, my understanding is, near towards the 50% mark. But there is a long way to go. And what we want to also do is make sure that those people that in the past thought that these doors were closed to them can have them reopened. So we recently did a big marketing campaign around the boot camps that we have available. Now they're short, sharp bursts of training and support so that you can go into a career that might not be the one that you trained for. And I met a really inspirational young lady when we launched that campaign the other week. And she had said that really she felt that that door had always been closed to her at school, and she desperately wanted to get into coding. And because of that boot camp, she was able to unlock a really successful career that is not only she's finding rewarding and self-fulfilling, but is also incredibly important, of course, for our economy too.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see, isn't it? And diversity coming through in degree apprenticeships as well. Look, thank you for that. When you look over the last 12 months, you've achieved an incredible amount. What would you say is your proudest moment so far?
Well, I guess I'd have to pick 2. So first of all, the AI Safety Summit, because we quite literally did lead the world in that agenda. And I personally think it is so important that we do not shy away from the potential that AI has to offer. And to be able to access those opportunities, we are going to have to grip those risks. And by convening what was literally the world, in essence, at that summit, and not just ministers, but also businesses and civil society, we started a conversation on a global stage. And we also got tangible outcomes with the Bletchley Declaration and the agreement around pre- and post-deployment testing. So we've actually shifted the dial and started to deliver. And then the second area would be the Online Safety Act becoming an act. Many will be very familiar with the roller coaster ride that was about 6 years. And what I did when I took over that bill was change a great deal of it and really focus it on children in particular and make it stronger when it comes to children, and make sure that it was had a common sense approach so that it enabled and supported adults as well as children in a sensible way.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's great to see UK leading the world on both of those topics.
Exactly. And when I meet my counterparts across the globe, I recently got back from a trip from the UAE and before that in Canada, and we do talk about particularly these 2 agendas. And many of my counterparts are saying to me, how did you get the Online Safety Act through? What did you put in it? And they're almost looking to us to provide the blueprint for legislation, which means that our country is not just protecting children here on our shores, but across the globe, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, exactly, phenomenal. Now, you've maybe got one of the most exciting jobs in politics. But when you look ahead, you talked about the opportunities for science and technology. What excites you most about the next 12 months?
I think the scale of change is very dramatic. AI, for instance, is emerging quicker than any other technology that we've ever seen before. And the 5 critical technologies that we've identified, many of which are almost foundational and go across, linked together. And when combined, that is going to have a real impact on people's lives and the economy. And I feel that at the moment, I said it actually that we're at a turning point. And we really are. And it is down to this government and industry and civil society, businesses to really harness these opportunities that are potentially there if we seize them.
We have to talk about the AI subject, of course, and when Gen AI hit mainstream consciousness about a year ago, many businesses, many of our customers had already been investing in AI to get real commercial value from it, really highlighting the need for AI skills. So what do you think we have to do in the UK to become match fit for AI?
Yeah, I think this is a really good point because there is a danger that the government does all this work around safety and we do all this talking about AI, but actually it isn't adopted by businesses and the public sector, so people don't actually get the benefits of it. So we do need to make sure that we're giving confidence, and that's partly why the safety agenda is so important, so that people can feel reassured. The other thing I think we really need to do is lead by example. And that's why the work that the Deputy Prime Minister, along with Number 10, are doing on the AI incubator unit to try and ensure that AI is utilised in our public services more and our procurement process is really important and will give business confidence to copy and emulate as well. We've got an AI adoption panel that I work with Number 10 on to listen to industry and try and get to the nub of this question. In the past, in the UK, sometimes we have been slow to adopt certain technologies throughout the business community. And we need to look at why that was, and I'm not sure what that is, but why that was, and learn lessons from that. And actually, this has the potential to be somewhat of a leapfrog opportunity for us. And I'm particularly passionate about small businesses as well. And that'll be where the real benefit is felt, small and medium businesses. And DBT are leading on a digital adoption task force in this agenda across all of digital. And we're really trying to get the voice out of small and medium businesses to really understand the barriers, give them confidence and support and guidance as well. That's the key message that I hear back, that there is a sense of concern and needing some more hand-holding on this agenda.
Yeah, brilliant. So confidence, leading by example, and then hand-holding for SMEs. You mentioned already you took an approach last year in March to set out proposals for a pro-innovation regulatory framework for AI. Yeah. Maybe you could share some thoughts on your plans to drive forward that approach and how you see us getting to a really thriving AI ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognise that we do have world-leading regulators in this country. So rather than reinvent, rather than reinvent the wheel, what we thought we should do is really double down on our regulators, especially as they will need to regulate in a sector-specific way when it comes to AI. And what we said in our white paper and our response to that is that we do need consistency across the board and clarity, and we need them to be working to the same principles. Now, they are common sense principles. They're things like safety and transparency, etc. And so we've laid that out. And then the other thing that we said is that we need to make sure they've got the skills to be able to regulate in this area that's moving incredibly quickly, and that they've got the support. So we've dedicated a £10 million fund to assist with that. We've also asked them to all come back to us by the end of April around their plans in this area to make sure that they are ready and prepared and what gaps there are that we need to support to help fill. And we've also set up a central risk function that sits in my department that assists the regulators with horizon scanning and support and guidance, as well as
And so our approach in general is one of agility to foster innovation. We want the AI companies to be growing here, to be creating the jobs and the jobs of tomorrow here, and the technology that can be deployed in our public services and businesses. But of course, we need to be doing that in a safe way, in a way that the general public can have confidence in. And that's why, as a government, we're staying incredibly close to the risks. It's why we are producing an AI report, State of Science report internationally, led by Yoshua Bengio, who's one of the leading thinkers when it comes to AI, and that's a global process, something that came out of the Bletchley Summit. It's why we're working internationally, not just domestically, on this agenda, and it's why we will be constantly reviewing our work in this space, because this is moving at incredible speeds. And you're quite right, by saying that before ChatGPT, I don't think the public had really thought about AI, both the potential and the risks, as much as they certainly do now.
But there sounds like there's an incredible amount going on backstage to put the scaffolding in place to make this a reality. Now, you touched on quantum. Last November, you published the first the National Quantum Strategy. And quantum, you touched on it in your speech there, but has the potential to solve some of the really complex problems that classical computing can't. So things like fraud detection, risk analytics, and the discovery of new drugs, vaccines, new materials, etc. How do you think about the impact that quantum might have on the economy and society?
Well, like you say, it has the potential to do all those incredible things. And the key, therefore, is for us to be investing and recognising that potential so that we don't almost miss the boat or are left behind. And a number of countries are investing in this agenda. It is incredibly exciting. And we have some world-leading companies like PsiQuantum in the north that we've invested recently in as a government, and I visited last year. And so we have cutting-edge businesses, but also expertise in this field as well. What we have done is try to create a plan and set our budget, but also drill that down and be a bit more focused by establishing 5 key quantum missions. But I think this is one of those key areas that, as it emerges, the real potential will unfold.
Changing tack a little bit, we touched on it at the start. How do you think we can encourage more women to work in tech?
Personally, I think it is about making sure that we break down any barriers or perceived barriers, that we level the playing field. It needs to start at an early age with career education and in schools, and demystifying some of the stereotypes. As an MP, I've tried to do that in my own constituency as well. And when I speak to parents and teachers, it's very much about giving them those role models and showing them what is possible and where these subjects could lead them to in the future. But as I said before, it's also about creating and opening those doors later on in people's lives that they may have felt were shut to them before, like with boot camps. Also, we've got AI conversion courses that we are supporting, where you may have done a non-STEM subject and you want to now transition. So these are really important in terms of opening up those doors for all people. And it's going to be incredibly important to our future economy that we have people with the right skills, and the skills pipeline is absolutely essential. So we can't afford to be turning off 50% of the population at all.
Yeah, and digital inclusion, diversity and inclusion, incredibly important, as you say, to the economy. Is there anything else you think in terms of attraction, retention of a diverse workforce that we can be doing?
So I think in general, the fact that the Prime Minister had the foresight to set up this department in the first place and recognise how incredibly important this agenda is to our country and to our future economic growth speaks volumes for how much we as a country are not only investing in money but also in time on this agenda, and that will help attract talent not just here in the UK but a diverse talent pool across the globe. And our physical investment in infrastructure and resources and facilities, and the fact that we are now delivering on our £20 billion pledge for research and development funding, again, will help attract and retain talent. And obviously our association to Horizon as well means that we're now part of the world's largest research collaboration program. So all of these things will help retain talent, attract talent, and excite the future generation that this is going to be an area that will boom in the UK in the years to come.
It's a really interesting challenge, isn't it, for us as a sector? How, you know, as you think about those who don't yet have the tech skills they need, the digital skills, how do we encourage them, and how do we make it possible for them to get the right skills to find the jobs that they want?
Yeah, it's really a good point around digital inclusion, and we do have a cross-departmental group on this, because it does go into many areas, like, for example, the Department of Work and Pensions has a role to play in here, education has a role to play in here, local government has a role to play in here. And so this is something that we're trying to deliver on in a strategic and coordinated fashion to make sure that people aren't left behind. And as these technologies emerge quicker and quicker, it's almost harder to keep pace. And that's something that I think we need to continue to focus on as as time unfolds. And it will also mean that we've got to be weaving it into our education system as well.
Now, I'd like to move on to adoption and scale-ups. You talked about, and you've been very vocal, you and your department, about the importance of boosting digital adoption across all sectors to drive productivity and efficiency across the economy. How do you think we change the perception that only tech businesses can adopt technology and drive growth?
I think this is a really important thing that we do need to do, because the reality is that all businesses need some form of digital adoption to make them more efficient and effective in the modern world. And some of this is about the support that we're offering, going back to what we were talking about before, and the guidance and the confidence when they're making investments that that's going to actually pan out in the right way. And we've been trying to do this in a number of ways. Department of Business and Trade are in the process of just about setting up a task force on digital adoption, particularly focusing on SMEs, where there may be more of a reluctance or a concern or needing more information. And I think what we want to do is utilise that to really understand some of the challenges and hear from industry what we actually need to do on this agenda. And when it comes to AI specifically, we have our opportunity forum. We also are engaging considerably with SMEs. We've also got programs like Innovate UK, which have done a program called Bridge AI, which is specifically targeted at certain sectors of the economy, giving grants to support with AI adoption. We've also got our work with Barclays Eagle Labs with our digital growth grants as well. So I don't think there's one specific answer to this. I think it's about listening to industry, which is at the heart of my department. The whole way through in the last year, what I've tried to do is base decisions and policies on what industry say is actually going to make a difference. Yeah. And that's we need to be really your department delivering for you.
And then signposting businesses to those various support mechanisms that you set out. I had the pleasure in January to listen to your speech about the priorities for the year. And you talked about scale-ups. And I think you said scale-ups are fueling phenomenal growth in our economy. Can you say a bit more about what your department's doing to bring forward more mechanisms of support for scale-ups?
Yeah, so this has been somewhat of a joint mission between many members of the government, myself, the Chancellor and the Prime Minister. We all recognised that in the past we were very good at startup in this country and not as good at scale-up. And so we've done a number of different initiatives to really shift the dial there, because we want to be retaining more of these companies and those jobs and opportunities here on our shores. So I'm thinking about things like the LIFT scheme, the Mansion House reforms, which the Chancellor doubled down on last week in the budget, the work that we've done around venture capitalist fellowships. And what I announced in my speech was that we were going to continue and double down on this agenda, but also there's a great wealth of different groups and interests and bodies looking at how can we really become better at scale-up in the UK. And what I want to do is use the government's convening power to draw all of those together, be much more strategic and focused, and give a strong voice to government and to work with government in the form of a scale-up forum. And we're just nearly at the stage of announcing and putting a bit more meat on the bones publicly as to how that will look. And I also took inspiration, some could say copied, or delivered on the ask of techUK, which was for a scale-up policy sprint that is already underway, to look at what more can we do on this agenda. And this is something that industry really did say to me is a key thing that will help make a difference if we genuinely want to become, which we do, a science and technology superpower.
Yeah, well, it's very, very exciting for us to be part of a technology and science superpower. So thank you so much for your leadership. Now, I wanted to, if we're okay with that, just ask for some questions from the audience. I think we've got someone here from Sage.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Secretary of State. Natasha Thomas from Sage. We're very proud to be a FTSE tech company, and we're headquartered in the Northeast, helping small businesses across the world with their technology. And my question is really, we were very excited with the setting up of DSIT, a massive step forward for tech policy in the UK now. Is there an opportunity for you to harness the huge opportunities that technology has to drive up productivity amongst small and medium businesses with a cross-governmental strategy that your department could lead on, setting ambitious targets for not just adoption, which you've called out, but also the policies needed to address those everyday pain points that small and medium businesses face, whether it's their cash flow, challenges with complying with their tax, where technology can really make a difference. For example, 80 countries now are using e-invoicing as a measure to ensure that data passes through the economy quickly so that cash flow can be improved, invoices paid quicker. That could be one area, but there are others as well. So really see an opportunity for your department to lead the way there.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that this is something that you and your organisation have made representation on before, and the Secretary of State for DBT has been looking at and seeing what is possible here. And we're working very closely on that agenda and on the broader agenda. How can we actually set targets and milestones around some of these ambitions so that we can really drive forward and we all know where the goals are. And I completely agree with you, and that is something that we're in the process of doing.
Thank you. Do we have Logically here? Thank you.
Hi, thanks very much for the speech. It was really interesting to hear what the department's strategy is. So I'm from Logically. We're a company that's worked with your officials to manage state-backed disinformation before. I just wanted to welcome the commitment that was made in the response to the AI white paper around a call for evidence on AI-related risks to trust and information. It's a really important development. And we've actually published our own paper on this today, shameless plug, logically.ai. Please take a look at that. My question was more on the wider thinking that prompted your making that announcement in the white paper, because the white paper has a number of other measures in it that government thinks will manage the risk that it has identified in this area. It talks about the Online Safety Act, it talks about the foreign interference offence, it talks about the digital imprints regime for our election coming up. And we'll have a panel on all this later, but I wanted to ask, so is the call for evidence a precursor to more measures by government to promote trusted information as a result of the risk that generative AI has presented? Are you thinking of doing more in this area? What's the thinking behind your making that announcement?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I look forward to reading your report. So on this area, there is no one silver bullet answer as to how we can ensure that the public have confidence, especially when it comes to deepfakes, for instance, which do present a very real threat to our democracy, and that's why we're taking that very seriously, and we making sure it's a key part of the work of the Defending Democracy Task Force. But to really understand what we should do more on this agenda in general, we've decided to do a call for evidence to really hear what people's perspectives are and better understand what tools and approach the government should take
be that around trying to reinforce what mediums and media can be more trustworthy and the types of sources of information, etc. And when it comes to deepfakes, for instance, there is no one technological solution that is the answer to everything. As we know, there is a technology being developed to try and detect if it was AI generated or not, but many say that that will never get to a position where it is robust enough to guarantee accuracy, because obviously AI is developing at a constant speed too, so it's like a constant chase. There's also things like watermarking, but again, many people say that that can be jailbreak. So this is an area that we really want to develop considered and well thought out policy and approaches on.
Secretary of State, I think we have no more time for Q&A, unfortunately.
Sorry, maybe I waffled on the answers.
But thank you so much for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
I hope you feel the phenomenal support for you and your objectives here in the room, and we very, very much appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.